I've worked professionally now as a software engineer for a handful of years. And over the years, I've kind of come to find that there are at least a few things that I don't love about the job. And of course, we're going to save the best for last today, but I want to preface these 5 things I hate with, I really do enjoy being a software engineer. I don't want this to come across as like, I don't like my job, or I don't like my company, or I don't like the career path I chose, because that can be further from the truth. And I'm definitely going to make a video on 5 things I love about being a software engineer. But today I want to focus on kind of 5 downsides, plus maybe we'll throw in a bonus at the end. So leave a comment below if you're a software engineer. Let me know of anything that I missed that you really don't like about it, and we can kind of start a conversation down there. But number 1 is going to be tedious work in general. So as a software engineer, our job in a lot of respects is to kind of automate things and to make things less tedious. But what I've come to find is that there are going to be a handful of things that you have to do day to day that are just going to be a little bit more tedious, whether that is reviewing PRs, or it's creating different documentation, or doing manual things for application code. Like in my professional job, we have a process, without giving too many details, we have a process in which we retrieve different photos from a different source, but a select few number of those photos just are not properly sized. So we have to kind of come through and manually do a few of those, and we're working on a process to automate that. But right now, there's a decent amount of manual kind of tedious work. And that's the sort of work that I just really don't like as a software engineer. Now, it is few and far between, so I don't completely hate my job because of it. And ChatGPT does help with a lot of it these days. But number 1 is definitely tedious work. And number 2 is going to be virtual meetings. So there's something about having a lot of Zoom and Skypes and Slack huddles throughout the day that is particularly fatiguing for me. I don't know if it's just me or if you've had this experience as well, but when I have more than just 1 or 2 meetings per day, it does fatigue me quite a bit, I've noticed. And this is especially true if it's like a team meeting and the topics covered aren't necessarily relevant to me. That's where they really start to feel even more fatiguing. Now, this is kind of part of the nature of remote work, and I do love remote work, but it's just a matter of when I'm spending a really good part of my day in meetings and not necessarily developing stuff, that gets, to be something I really just don't like. Number 3, I'm going to kind of lump this all together into more so DevOps stuff. So this is going to be like having issues with the code environment, having issues with the code editor, and it's not lined up with other people's code editors on the team. And yes, there's definitely solutions to all these, but it can be a headache to kind of get all this working together and all set up. Even when it comes to like documentation processes and end-to-end processes and testing suite processes and stuff like that. Our product specifically has several different sub-products, which we have to have a specific environment to develop all those different sub-products. And if one little thing is off with like your database or your AWS connection pool or something like that, you can get errors, and it can be not particularly straightforward on how to solve those. And then you realize it's just an environment issue and you kill the whole morning because of it. So that's definitely something that I don't love. Like for me, I love developing features and creating new things, and actually like writing code and updating the UI and creating new components. That's the type of work I really enjoy. DevOps, not really my style, but some people do really like it. But for me, that's something I don't love about the job. Now, number 4, it's kind of similar to the tedious work that we covered earlier, is testing in general. Now, I do think it's something that's necessary. I do think it gives you a lot of confidence when you push a new feature that it's not breaking a whole bunch of other things. But when it comes to the act of writing test itself, I don't really love the process. It's not terrible, but if I have like a full 2-week sprint where I'm mostly writing tests, I am definitely ready for that sprint to be over, and I don't necessarily love it, because for me personally, I do love the actual application development, not necessarily the test infrastructure, writing tests. To me, it feels a little bit tedious, but I do think it is necessary, and it can definitely help give you a lot of confidence when you push new features that you're not breaking other things. So I don't want to say like testing is bad, or it shouldn't come across that as all. And, I don't necessarily hate testing altogether, but if I have to spend a lot of my, sprint on doing a lot of testing, and for those that don't know, a sprint is typically 2 weeks of work in kind of engineering speak. If you follow like Scrum methodologies, if I have an entire like 2 weeks of work that is mostly dedicated towards testing, I'm definitely ready for those 2 weeks to be over. Number 5, and this is probably the worst one. Maybe it's close between this and the bonus one, but number 5 is just a version management in general. What spurred this video is an issue that I just had a few days ago, to where we have a shared repo. So I created for our company a shared repo in which we can then consume React components that we kind of customized in this shared repo. We consume those components in other of our several applications, like I mentioned, that we have. But there was apparently a minor version mismatch. So it wasn't even like a major version, but I believe it was like our recoil. So for global state management, it was a minor version off of what we had recoil set to in a different project. And this just caused a lot of issues, and the error message wasn't super clear. And this is just one example. There are several others examples of like managing version dependencies and managing different packages and all that stuff. It can get super tricky, and it can be very hard because like we've had situations to where we try to upgrade React, but then AWS Cognito doesn't seem to be compatible with that latest version, and you run into compatibility issues between different packages to where one version matches this package, but that doesn't match this kind of more less important package. So then it's like, man, do we fork that package and try to fix it? And it's just this whole thing is not a lot of fun time. And if you've had to go through that, I feel for you, and I'm sure you could relate. And as a bonus here, I don't think I need to elaborate on this one a whole lot, but dates and time zones, there is a special place in hell for those. And they are not particularly easy to work with, but those are kind of 5 plus a little bonus one that I just don't really love about the job. Granted, like I said at the start, I really do like being a software engineer, but with any job, there are going to be some things you dislike it. So for me, those are some of the main downsides that stick out. But let me know in the comments what kind of sticks out for you. I'll make a video on 5 things I love, so make sure you're subscribed for that. But with that, I'll see you in that next one.